history is always told by the oppressor, there's this mixed notion out there that our mob get everything. That's technically not true. And the data says in Victoria, we are 10 times more likely to contact homelessness services. We as a people want to heal, but it needs to be based on truth, on justice. Come and join us on the Walk for Truth. We need to have conversations, honest conversations about how we move forward together.
Hello and welcome to Community Conversations, the podcast from Closing the Gaps. At Closing the Gaps, we often say that it's more than a tea, it's a conversation starter. And this podcast is where those conversations continue as we sit down with inspiring people from community to talk about justice, advocacy, and the stories of the movements that got us to where we are today and those shaping the future. My name's Sarah Sherry. I'm non-Indigenous and the co-founder of Closing the Gaps. And we're recording today on Wurundjeri and Bunurong country, and I honour the traditional owners of these lands. I'm grateful for elders past and present and honour their knowledge, lived experience, resistance, as this always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Today, I'm really privileged to be joined by Travis Lovett, especially in the countdown to the National Walk for Truth. Travis is a proud Karatmara and Gunditjmara man, the inaugural Executive Director of the new Centre for Truth-Telling and Dialogue at Melbourne University. And prior to this, Trav was the Deputy Chair and Commissioner of the Yoorrook Justice Commission, Australia's only formal truth-telling process that happened right here in what we now call Victoria. For many years, Trav has been at the forefront of work to ensure the truths of this country are heard, understood, and most importantly, acted on. From his leadership in Victoria's Truth and Treaty process to his role in shaping national conversations about justice, healing, and structural change. Trav is also the founder of the Walk for Truth, a powerful movement that brings people together to walk across countries, listen and reckon with the truth. In a recent open letter to the Prime Minister, Trav wrote that the story of this country is still unfinished and the truth is the missing chapter. And today's conversation is about what it means to tell and hear and really hear that truth and what it can unlock for all of us. Trav, welcome to Community Conversations.
Yeah, deadly. And, thanks for the opportunity to come and have a yarn and connect. And, I think it's always an amazing opportunity to, come and share some of our lived experience as accustomed to our people. And I appreciate the introduction there. Latta Larawa Latun Lat Linyung, Travis Lovett, Karatmara Gunditjmara meeting, Linyan Kukon Kenen Konda Terek Pujbim, Yunbin meeting, Wurundjeri Ma meeting, Kulin meeting, Nian Karabanjul Wangwa Ma Wuran Buka Bidadong Beauty meeting, Narakitong meeting, Narakitong Ma, Min Mun Mung. I just acknowledge country there, and I think it's always really important, and you mentioned this word that really resonates really well with me, which is resistance. And why I share language and why I've made an active choice to share language is because of the resistance of our people, because it was government policy forced upon our people through the role of churches and missions that we weren't allowed to share that culture and share that language and so forth as well. So I always try to pay respects to our old people, our ancestors, to recognise that their fight, their struggle and their resistance actually really meant something, and we're continuing on with their legacies and so forth and elevating their lived experience as well as we're talking today, about truth and about justice, but also about how we move forward together.
Thank you so much for sharing language with us as well, and that reawakening and revitalisation of language is so powerful. What's that been like for you? Language is a cornerstone of identity, and that was something that colonisation tried to take from us. It was, it was language, its connection to country, and so forth as well. So going through that reclamation process and actually having the ability to learn myself, and I'm still on my own journey as well about learning more words and so forth, but also being able to have my kids get up at school, and I'm teaching my kids. But for them to get up at school and acknowledge country and language, my daughter's been doing that. She's now 12, and she started doing that at 7 years old. Getting up in front of 1,000 kids at 7, and that was something she wanted to do. It wasn't ever forced upon her, and it was one of the sort of proudest moments in my life. And just again to share that with students coming through schools and but also with the ancestors as well. Again, as I said, to let people know that this is the oldest continuous culture in the world, and we as mob are already proud of that, and we want everyday Australians to be proud of that. It's our culture, it's Australian culture, and I think that's something that's really special as well. So yeah. Oh, Trav, I hear that so much. For me as a non-Aboriginal person, it makes me so proud to hear language and to see that. growing and gaining strength in 2026. Trav, when I think back to 7-year-old Trav, who probably would have loved that opportunity to have been taught and learn language, a lot's shifted in the last couple of decades. Hey, how would you describe where we are right now in this country?
People have got a stronger understanding of our people's lived experience, and I've really had to repivot myself because I used to use the word stories quite a lot. And I think a lot of the time with our people and our lived experience tells us that a lot of non-Aboriginal people love the culture, the song, the dance, the language. Everyone wants to engage in that stuff. But when it comes to lived experience around injustices, we don't want to talk about that. And, that happened in the past. Being able to, I guess, talk about those lived experiences and share those as well, but also the growth in what we're seeing around culture, people wanting to learn and understand more about how we move forward together, but also people understanding the true history, because history is always told by the oppressor. And we've had that unique ability at the Yoorrook Justice Commission to really set the record straight about our people's lived experience here in this state. I guess continue to talk about that lived experience and also have those truths form a part of Victoria's treaty process. I'm still pinching myself that I'm sitting here talking to you today, but when I mentioned that word treaty, it was such a foreign concept. When the Premier turned around and said, well, we're going to do treaty, for us, Muppet was like, well, hang on, this is something we'd marched for and we'd called for, but we don't know what that looks like. And that's okay because we've never been empowered as the people to say, what is treaty? What do we want in treaty? Of course, we want land rights. Of course, we want water rights and rights for, human rights to be respected and elevated. There is certainly a continuation, and people have more of gaining more of an understanding and wanting to stand beside our people as well. To walk from Portland initially to Naarm, and have 22,000 people walk with us. That concept came from me and my wife sitting on the couch at our house and saying, oh, well, I think I'm going to walk from Portland to Parliament, because we wanted to raise awareness and we wanted to create an open and honest conversation about history and lived experience, but also invite non-Aboriginal people in, because we're living in this and walking this every day. So how do we do that? And I think, seeing that, in particular post The Voice, where, we as a people have felt that people have gone quiet. So actually seeing that in a physical form of that solidarity and support, it was absolutely special.
That shift that you were just talking about the way that there is still a lot of work to do, but there is a lot of support for the work that is being done as well. And Trav, your open letter to the Prime Minister was so easy to sign, by the way. How many signatures are you up to now? You just told me before.
So we're proud to say that more than 5,500 people have signed that open letter to the Prime Minister calling on Anthony Albanese to establish a national truth-telling process. We've seen what the power of truth-telling can do in Victoria. Those recommendations that we provided and the official public record that we established, all legally fact-checked, mind you, has created a blueprint for what can happen. And we should be having a national conversation, and also the commitments that the Prime Minister's already made. I'm not asking, and we as a people are not asking for new commitments. We're just asking him to implement what he committed to doing, implement all the elements of the Uluru Statement from the Heart, voice, treaty and truth. Now we understand that the voice, didn't go our way, but that's okay. We dust ourselves off and we move forward, and we move forward together. Do what you said that you would do, establish a national truth-telling process, and we're bringing the walk to you.
Absolutely. I think back to that night of the election win and that speech often, actually, Trav, and I couldn't agree more. It's nothing new. It's just asking for action on what's already been committed to publicly, very publicly. As you said, the Yoorrook Justice Commission here in Victoria established a public record of the lived experience, and you're so clear about referring to those accounts not as stories but as lived experiences. And I really appreciate your reflection before about it's lived experience, and they're not fluffy, lovely stories that people can often associate with culture and the dreaming and things that people like to romanticize about different things. And it's about sitting with the truth and the full truth and fact-checked truth, as you said. What have you taken away from that process that you think all Australians need to hear?
we don't get everything. There's this mixed notion out there across Australia that our mob get everything, and in particular, something that strikes me when I got a taxi ride home because I wasn't walking on this particular night, but I got a taxi ride home one night because it was very late, and the taxi driver asked me what I did, and I said, well, I'm a proud blackfella. I did this, work on the commission, really important work, but I'm also now at the university. And then the next point to me from the taxi driver was, oh, your people get free houses. And I'm like, well, that's technically not true. And I said, where'd you hear that? And he goes, oh, it's just, we hear it all the time in the taxis and obviously, engaging in society and so forth as well. And I think for me, it's one, it's a lie, it's factual wrong. And also, and the data says in Victoria, which we highlighted at the commission, that we are 10 times more likely to contact homelessness services. So demystifying the myths out there that we get everything and that as well is certainly something that the Yoorrook Justice Commission was able to do. But also, as I said before, history has always been told by the oppressor. And we had the unique ability through the Yoorrook Justice Commission to engage with more than 8,000 First Peoples to come and share their lived experiences with us. It was incredibly important that we honoured our people's lived experience, and there was, with this injustice, there's genocide that we found. That there's 49 recorded massacres in the state of Victoria. That's recorded. Again, mob didn't record that. It was non-Aboriginal people that recorded these injustices and so forth. And then sort of the continual failed policy from government as well. I mean, government just got smarter at how they wrote it. But the data and the statistics and the evidence that we're able to translate, because we got more than 10,000 documents from the Victorian government to further quantify that it was government policy, and government knew the whole time about the continual injustices that our people were faced. But one of the most powerful parts of the Yoorrook Justice Commission for me was I personally spent more than 600 hours driving around in the state, taking truths and listening to truths from our people and evidence. And we were able to, as commissioners and as the staff at the commission, were able to translate those lived experiences into recommendations for change and transformation. So, again, asking the mob, like, what do you want to see different? When I first started asking our mob, so what do you think the recommendations should be? And of course, naturally, mob would say, oh, you get paid the big bucks, bros, you sort it out. You work it out, bros, And that's a fair comment to make, but like, it's like, oh, yeah, true, okay. Well, I got some ideas, I thought, I've got some ideas, and but yous are the ones with the lived experience of what you want to see different. So then asking them again, the second time around when I went back to speak to someone and say, last time I asked you and you said that to me, but I want to ask you again, have you thought more about that? And then actually some of them said, I have thought more about it, and this is what we need to do to see change. Having the official public record that debunks the myths about our lived experience here, and telling the full history of what really happened. Not just when we see these colonial monuments right across the state that talks about the innovation that these early colonial figures brought, not actually that they committed massacres against our people, many of these people, and so forth as well. But also not just identify issues, have solutions, which is what we put forward, and to give the mob confidence to also see them recommendations negotiated through some of the treaty process already.
Absolutely, and to be able to see them in momentum, I couldn't agree more, through the base of some of that treaty work as well. And the Truth Be Told report has 144 recommendations. These aren't just recommendations, I guess, that we're asking for accountability from government and decision makers and leaders. I think some of these learnings as well can sit with us as individuals too.
A really important point to make is blackfellas never said to everyday Australians, you have to apologise to us, because there's another misconception out there. But what we've always called for through our rallies, through our advocacy, is institutions need to be accountable for that institutional harm that they've caused us, which is separate. We do ask people to check their privilege and understand their privileges of what comes with those lives. However, that's the main point. Institutions need to be accountable for that harm as well. So, but it also sits with everyone about understanding the full lived experience, and dealing with facts and evidence is really important. And it's not about blame, it's not about shame, but it's about how we understand the past and how it connects to the future, but also what we can do together to create equity for everybody. When we as First Peoples advocate for our rights or raise the age or bail reform, we advocate for everyone. And that's something that I think sometimes is a misconception, because a lot of it is coming from us about our voice for our people. But we fight for change or advocate or articulate ourselves in the context to make society better for everybody. We are a harmonious and a giving people, and we've sacrificed a lot, and we continue to do so. But at the same time, we want to see equity. And that's what our elders fight for and advocated for. But it's on us all to really get around, but have continual conversations. Like today, we're having yarns about this stuff. Again, it's not about blame. It's also about how we learn from each other, how we listen and learn and engage with each other, but also how we move forward. Let's not repeat what happened in the history or in the past. Let's actually move forward based on what we can achieve together in the future.
That's it. And I think knowing where we've been, it's that old saying again, knowing where you've been helps us get to where we're going so much better and stronger and together. And the Yoorrook website has the most incredible library of those lived experiences and the facts and the evidence that you're talking about there. And whenever anybody says to me, they're like, I don't know very much about that. I'm like, yoorrook.com.au. Like, that is my go-to place of, we have to understand, and I don't think in 2026 the excuse of I didn't know is good enough anymore. It never has been, but it's certainly not today. That feels like healing at a national level to me.
Well, and that's exactly what our people have called for. We as a people want to heal. We do want to move forward, but it needs to be based on truth, on justice. Then healing can happen. All of that underpinned by hope.
And you say that so powerfully as well, of that underpinning of hope. That work can't be scattered either, that we really do need a national approach to truth-telling. So you're calling for a legislated, properly resourced national truth-telling process. If we got this right, Trav, what would that look like? Yeah,
well, I mean, I think this is... there's lessons to learn from what we did in the Yoorrook Justice Commission as well. We were a Royal Commission, even though we went by Yoorrook Justice Commission, which is the Wamba word for truth, because it also was really important that, again, through that language reclamation process as well. But we were a Royal Commission. And there's positives to also being a Royal Commission as well. You know, when government did play funny buggers with us around giving us the information, we had to call them to account. So we had to utilise those powers to actually say, government, you're dragging your heels here. We need the information because we need to write a report and recommendations, but also having the ability to use research from right across the world to understand, well, what could a model look like in a national context for Australia. We're a very diverse community, First Peoples alone, and yet everybody else in a sense. But having the ability, I guess, to hear from mob along the walk as well, to be able to elevate what do they want to see. Is it a Royal Commission? Is it a commission? Is it an inquiry? As well. So being able to use best practice around what are the other countries done at a national level, but also elevating, I guess, our people's voice on the ground, grassroots, and actually talking to them as well. I mean, this was the beauty about being on the commission, and many a times when I was speaking to the mob, when I was yarning to them, they'd say, we need this nationally, bruz. We need this nationally as well, because there was also parts of the inquiry from Victoria we weren't able to inquire into federal matters. It was only state-based, which was really important. But there's a different jurisdiction at that Commonwealth level as well. So having the ability to inquire into other areas of I guess, government policy at that level as well. So opening it up really for conversations along the route to hear from the mob direct and not as one person deciding on what the best model is. And we'll be taking information, as I said, from more drawing from inspiration across the world, but also our people's lived experience and what they want to see. And how do we elevate those truths at those local levels into a national conversation? Because that's really important. We talk about Australian values a lot, and we hear a lot of politicians talking about Australian values. And for me, it's more than just a beer and a barbecue. It's actually, the country has been built on the foundation of racism, and we haven't had that dialogue and that conversation about that. And there's this notion at the moment, which is really important around broader social cohesion, that word. But how do we have that dialogue, but also First Peoples have to lead any conversation about social cohesion in this country, given the injustices are still outstanding for our people, and we haven't had that national process to really bring it all together about the national story at the national lived experience as well. We know a lot about, the colonial foundations, as in the innovation that was brought and all that kind of stuff, but not actually the lived experience of First People. So let's actually get a grasp of what the lived experience and how we move forward together.
Absolutely. And I think when I think about innovation in this country, and especially in our so-called Victoria, I think about Gunditjmara mob and Budjabim and, one of the oldest examples of aquaculture in the world that's now UNESCO heritage listed. Like the stories that we like to tell ourselves about this country are only scratching the surface, and it's only going to make, us better, richer, deeper, and more connected as a nation when we include First Nation stories. Trav, before we get stuck into talking about the Walk for Truth that's coming up, and I want you to reflect on the Victorian Walk for Truth for a second, but to just wrap up this little section for us, of for anybody who's listening, that this conversation about truth-telling is making them feel a bit uncomfortable or they're a bit resistant to that, what would you say to them?
I think just open your minds and open your hearts to the full lived experiences of our people. This is not about naming you and shaming you. It's a really important point as well. It's about, just being open. Take the time to sort of sit back and reflect on our lives and our struggle and our resistance and what we've had to endure in this state of Victoria as well. And I think that, but be open, just spending some time and carving out some time and thinking about, from our perspective as well. We have been shut out of the economy. This was government policy. People don't understand that our women had to give birth on the hospital balconies because they weren't allowed in the hospital. We have evidence at the Yoorrook Justice Commission of our aunties, not just my auntie, but aunties in a plural sense, in a general sense, writing to the mission managers of those days saying, we have saved up enough money to be able to leave the mission. Can we, via the mission manager, can we please, Your Honour, can you please grant us the ability to buy the house down the road that's become available? And we have the evidence of the facts of the mission manager writing back saying, thank you for your letter. Unfortunately, we are not going to grant your approval to leave. We had elders come to the commission and talk about having to get a leave pass to be able to leave the missions for the day, walking in 15 to 20 Ks one way and then on back out. And if you were late on the way back, we have lived experiences of people living today that they have to sleep under bridges or they had to sleep under trees and hide out because if they were caught, we all know what happened to them.
And I think it's so important to stress that these are lived experiences of people that are still alive today. This is not, when people say, oh, it was a long time ago, get over it. This is not ancient history. No. This is very, very recent. And I think more people understanding the systemic and strategic policies and active decisions that were made by institutions and government, and they full well knew what they were doing is really important. And the facts and evidence that Yoorrook has garnered about that is very, very clear. Trav, I just want to thank you for your reflections on people coming to this conversation with a bit more curiosity and empathy as well. The first Walk for Truth that you led was from Portland to Parliament, as you said, 500 Ks on foot, plus it was all the way from Gunditjmara country into Victorian Parliament House in Naarm. You're about to take on a national Walk for Truth, kicking off on April 19, all the way through to May 27. Tell us all about it. What's the vision for this next chapter?
Yes, that's right. So I guess we there was a massive walk the first time. I think initially when I announced the first Walk for Truth, it was 370 kilometres. That's because literally I did a Google how many kilometres from Portland to Parliament, and it said 370. I think it was 373 kilometres. So I thought, no problems at all. Just walk along the road. Little did I know that there was a lot of process and a lot of council approvals and all this other jazz to be able to go there. But it was one of the most amazing things that being able to walk beside more than 22,000 Victorians in that first Walk for Truth, but bringing people together as well. But the National Walk for Truth will emulate a similar formula where we are also working with traditional owners right along the route to highlight lived experience, not just the traumas, as I said before, but also the innovation and the leadership and the resistance of our of our people as well. And I think that, that's something that really continually inspires me to see. And when we're walking and we're stopping at these locations of having the TOs like speaking for country, speaking about country, our people have walked country for 60 plus thousand years, and I think that, the walk sort of, I guess, is just that continual reclamation of culture. We're passing message sticks on the TOs. I just had a really deadly yarn this morning with a couple of TOs along the route that they've called me going, we're working on the message sticks, bros. And just to see the passion and so forth going, I haven't done one before, but we're working with the elders and we're getting knowledge and, this and that and the other. So I think that that's incredibly important that they're, again, going through that process. This important walk as well will be, I guess, 800 kilometres, this one. So this is big, double the efforts as well. But, I think that, again, it's another opportunity for non-Aboriginal people to walk alongside our mob and to highlight not only the injustices, but also coming together, sharing culture, sharing connection. And it's an opportunity as well for people who have sat on the sidelines and gone, well, what's all this about, this Aboriginal stuff, because people are curious, but they don't know how to kind of interact. So come and join us on the Walk for Truth. You're at the same level. There's no hierarchy. It's just conversations. It's organic. It's beautiful. And on the first walk, which I'm confident is going to happen again, we had farmers come and join us who also then ended up returning artefacts that their families have held for 3 generations. We never, in our minds, me and Renata, thought that this would ever happen. And seeing that happen multiple times, having people who had never ever engaged with First Peoples come out and walk, and they're still in contact with me as well. So just having that ability to be able to do that, to be able to create space and walk with people is so healing. It's so important. And we're encouraging people to jump on the website, www.walkfortruth.com, and sign the open letter. Consider adding your name to that important call to action. Again, nothing new for Albo. It's not a new commitment we're asking. It's for him to do what he'd already said that he would do. We've got more than 5,500 signatures already, which I still have to pinch myself. But we've also got more than 80 Aboriginal businesses and mainstream businesses and organisations who have publicly pledged support, more than 80. You can register for a leg of the walk as well, and I think that's incredibly important. The full route is live, and we're really excited about that, and we've worked really hard with the TOs as well.
You've done such an amazing job. I was on the website a couple of days ago, and all of the different legs are in mine and Laura's diary, and I'm already really excited about the day that you've got planned at the League, on day 2, I believe it is, as you kick off, which is really exciting. Trav, if Australia truly committed to truth-telling and truth-hearing, what could change in the next 10 to 20 years, do you think?
Well, I think it brings us together as Australians. We as a people want to heal. We want to move forward. And as I said before, it needs to be based on the truth, though. We've got unfinished business as a country, and having the ability to bring people together to call on the government to establish a national truth-telling process. Our country as a whole right now, with what's going on in the world, we need to come together. We need to have conversations, honest conversations about how we move forward together. And I think that's a really important point, and that's why we're walking as well. We want to heal. And let's also think about things like, what does it look like we've recommended in the Yoorrook Justice Commission about curriculum changing. It's not about rewriting history for people who go, they just want to rewrite history. No, we want the full story told. Come together. Let's really reset the Australian values in a positive way that also has First Peoples and other communities who have come to this country to come together, and we move forward together. I think that's a really important point.
Absolutely, and I think that really reiterates what you said before, Trav, about the work that Yoorrook and national truth-telling will do benefits all Australians. It's not just about, while we want to see things 110%, we want to see things better and more equitable for mob as well, but it benefits everybody. I'm so grateful that we live in a treaty era and a truth-telling era in Victoria, which still brings the biggest smile to my face.
That's true.
And that, my kids will grow up going through school knowing more and having more to understand because of the lived experience that you crew have captured through Yoorrook and have documented than what I did. and that what my parents did and that what my grandparents did. So I'm really grateful for that work. Trav, you said once that we walk because of your love for country means loving it enough to change it. For people who really resonate with that and want to get involved, they can jump on a leg of the National Walk for Truth. They can sign the open letter to the Prime Minister. They can, what other ways can people support you?
Yeah, I think share on social media as well. So, follow us on social media, but also share. Share on social media as well. And I think on the last day of the walk, we're really trying to mobilise the whole country. So encouraging people to jump on socials and dedicate their walking leg on the 27th of May or their exercise for the day and put it on socials that they're dedicating that to the National Walk for Truth. It's not a First Peoples initiative. Whilst it's First Peoples led, I need to be clear on that, it is actually for everybody. So, dedicate some time, some energy, and come and join us on the National Walk for Truth as well. It is open to everybody. That's a genuine invitation to all Australians, but also last time on the walk we had people from right across the world come.
Yeah. And
again, add your name to that open letter calling on the Prime Minister to establish a national truth-telling process. And we look forward to walking alongside you.
Oh, Trav, I'm just so excited to know that on the 27th of May, when you walk into those steps of Parliament House in Canberra, I'm dreaming of a giant number that is going to be on those signatories of people backing your open letter to the Prime Minister. We'll see you on April 19 on the steps of Parliament House here in Naarm in Victoria. Trav, a huge thank you for joining me on Community Conversations. We really can't wait to see the National Walk for Truth kick off. And I think I just want to sneak in a little shout out to Renata as well, your amazing wife who backs and walks alongside you and supports all of the work that you do as well. And team, if there's something from today's episode that has stayed with you, we hope it starts a conversation where you are. We'll put all of the action pieces and links to more information in the show notes for you to follow along because, as Trav said, hearing the truth comes with a responsibility for action, and the invitation for us all to get involved is right there. So we'll see you next time.
Too deadly, and thanks for the opportunity to come and have a yarn. And I also will reiterate the support for my wife Renata. We wouldn't be able to do this, and I think this is the beauty about, similar to what yourselves have emulated about Aboriginal people and non-Aboriginal people walking together in the into a better and more equitable future as well. And the time, the effort, and the dedication that Renata's put in, is just no words can articulate my appreciation, but also our mob's appreciation for the sacrifice as well. So in my language, and thanks for the opportunity to come today, but we say Yoorrook, which means for now. We never say goodbye because we'll always see each other again, whether it be on country or whether it be in the dreaming. Yoorrook.
Yoorrook, Trav, thank you.